Thank you so much, Agapi. Such a pleasure having you here. A sheer honor to have you on the podcast X Monks Drive.
Thank you so much, Gaurav. And it's wonderful to reconnect with you. I know that you've worked with my sister Ariana on Thrive, and it's so wonderful when our lives come back together full circle. And so thank you for reaching out. And I love your culture, and I love what the contribution that Indian culture has made to the world.
Thank you. And it was a great privilege to be associated with Ariana almost like 4, 5 years back. And
Yes,
last year, she introduced me to you, and it took us some time to get connected and get going.
yes,
Agapi, once again, lots and lots of gratitude to you, and especially the words that you used just before this conversation when you said that let this podcast be in the service of others and the service of humanity, and there let that be the light in service of love.
yes,
Those words touched me deeply. It helped me get grounded.
yes.
And so much shukrana to you. Agapi, just curious, what does your name mean, Agapi?
Oh, agape means love. It means unconditional love in Greek.
Hmm.
And my mother gave it to me as I was born. And I wrote about how I felt in giving me that name. She implanted to me what my purpose was going to be in life.
Mm,
Was that my life was about love, about unconditional love.
mm,
And it took me a while to get to that. And now, at the later part of my life, I feel that's what I'm here to not teach so much, but live. Because I think we teach by example, and we
mm,
teach by our beingness rather than um, words. Words can be wonderful, but if somebody is thirsty, you can give them a whole book on water, and you can explain to them about how water is made. And is it H2O, right? Is that water? Is that how water is made? H2O?
yes, yes. Two
Uh,
molecules of hydrogen, one molecule of oxygen. When they
yes.
come together, you get H2O.
So, or you can give them a glass of water to
Mm,
drink. And when they drink the water, they are no longer thirsty. They can read all the analysis about water, but it won't do it. So I feel the same thing about the human heart. You can talk about it, you can preach about it, you can write about it. The human heart needs warmth, needs caring, needs loving, and needs guidance.
mm,
Because I feel as human beings, we have wavered away from our heart
mm,
uh, because we don't trust it, or before we think it's weak. And I'm not talking about the emotional heart, because the emotional heart gets bumpy,
mm,
up and down. I'm talking about being anchored in your spiritual heart. And that spiritual heart is an energy field. It's something that I feel in my understanding and in my consciousness. That's the universal love. That is the
mm,
consciousness. To me, God is love. God
mm,
is love. And
mm,
that's what I discovered, and that's what I speak about. That's what I write about, as you know. And it's just so beautiful when you experience the love from one human being to another. And I think mothers have it for their children, fathers have it for their children. We hope, other than a few cases where the parents don't know how to love, but that's a whole other story. So, um, I think it's just very important to, when we talk about spirituality,
mm,
to me, is talk about love, talk about your heart.
mm. What a relatable analogy you have used for water. You also spoke about your mother. In several instances in your book, and we are going to dig deeper into your book, Speaking with Spirit, 52
Yeah.
Prayers to Guide, Inspire, and Uplift You. On several occasions, you have spoken about your mother. On
Yes.
several platforms, you have spoken about the impact of your parents in
Yes.
your life.
Yes.
In one of the interviews that I was listening to that you had with Deepak Chopra, you said that I am the byproduct of amazing parents.
Yes. Yes.
Just curious, what does that mean and why do you say so?
Well, I think all of us carry the genetics of our parents, but the way we are raised really, Gaurav, shapes our life.
Mm,
Uh, I mean, there's no question about it. If you want to find out who somebody is before what they do, where they live, what nationality they are, you can sit in front of them and say, tell me about your mother, tell me about your father,
mm,
how were you raised? And people will tell you, and they'll give you their patterns, you know. And I think the way we are raised um, is really puts a stamp on who we become. Now, we can let go of patterns, we can actually evolve from it, but we cannot disregard the power of what our parents. I mean, I know that there are children who said to me, my father died when I was 5.
mm,
So then I say, who are your role model as a man, as a father figure?
mm,
And they said, well, I didn't have any. So then that takes a whole other category of how
mm,
do you shape your life without a father figure or without a mother figure. Now, I was very blessed
mm,
that my parents were extraordinary in terms of their courage and the way they lived and survived the Second World War. But what they gave me is what I call a Greek chutzpah. They
mm,
gave me this. My father used to say, "Life is like a horse. You ride it and you hold it by the mane, and
mm,
you lift it." Now, how amazing is that? I was 8 or 9 when I heard that. My mother said to me, when I asked her, and I written about this in my book, Unbinding the Heart,
mm,
a dose of Greek wisdom, generosity, and unconditional love, I wrote stories and stories of my mother, of how
mm,
she raised me and Ariana. And I remember she saying, when I asked her, Mommy, are we rich? Because my father had a lot of wealthy friends and who used to pick him up with their Jaguars to take him to the races because my father loved to go to the races. And we didn't have a car and we didn't have such a big home in Athens, Greece, where I was raised.
mm,
And my mother sat me down, and I was 9 years old. And I have this chapter in the book, Unbinding the Heart, that is extraordinary. What she said to me, that there's a difference between rich and wealthy, and we are wealthy. We might
mm,
not have much money as your father's friends have, but we have education and we have caring, and what we have, we share, and we have visions of what you and Ariana are going to do in your lives. And I feel education is more important than money. And
mm,
she just educated me about, and money, she said, you can always go make money,
mm,
but you can make money but not be wealthy. And
mm.
and she used to call it the poverty of wealth. Can you believe it?
Wow, the poverty of wealth.
Richness, like that people
Mm,
could be very rich, but they could very poor.
mm,
They could have a lot of money in the bank, but they lack in generosity, they lack in
yeah.
education, lack in humanity. To
Mm,
her, the wealth was humanity. To her,
mm.
wealth was the spirituality of humanity. Does that make sense?
Oh, it is making 200% sense. Interestingly, as I'm listening to you, when you said that somebody has lost his father at an age of 5, in my mind, I was just trying to understand what was the impact he would have received by having a father for 5 years and then not having a father figure as well after that.
Exactly.
Few days back, I met a friend of mine. He lost his father in a air crash accident when he was 4. He lost his mother when he was 20 in a fire accident. And in my mind, I'm just trying to understand the impact the parents could have on an individual's growth and development. You also spoke about genetics. And even if that person lost his father at an age of 3 or 5, what you were
Yes.
talking about, there's still the impact of genetics that would
Yeah.
have assisted him to become the person that he would have become.
Absolutely.
You know,
Absolutely. I tell you a funny story. My mother, Ellie Stassinopoulos, who was just, oh my God, Gaurav, she was just an extraordinary, extraordinary human being, extraordinary spirit. Her, I never get tired talking of her because whenever I talk of her, I get her vastness, ability to function in life beyond adversities, to
mm,
have this ability to connect with everyone. And she would just connect in the most visceral way. She would say to the person, darling, I am talking to you and you're not really present. You are thinking of so many other things. So go do the other things. And when you are present, come back to me.
come back to me. Mm,
But how amazing. She just met someone and she would say that to them. Now
mm,
I would cringe and I would go, oh my God, she embarrasses me. But my mother
mm.
could not care less about what people thought of her.
But I think these are the lessons that you can learn from your mother. For example, in my case, I have learned the importance of gratitude. I use the word shukrana very often. I think that's what I've learned from her. How could one be in service of others? How could one
Yes.
serve others? How could one live and leave this body with dignity? I think that's what I've learned from my mother. And I never use the word she was. I tell the word she is very generous. She is full of gratitude. She is and left her body with dignity.
Yes, yes, yes. No, completely. And you just said the key word. You said she left her body, and I said, I want to show people, that people die, but they don't die.
Yeah,
They don't die. I mean,
yeah.
I know physical reality is extraordinary and so grabs us, but I feel my mother's presence right now that I'm talking to you
Mm, mm,
because she lives in me, and
mm,
and we are of spirit. We are not of matter. And honestly, Gurav, the reason why I have such passion speaking about this book, the Speaking with Spirit, and I wrote this book during the pandemic when I was pretty devastated with the lockdown because I'm a complete and utter extrovert, and I'm a Greek extrovert, which makes me a triple extrovert. I love being with people. And I love breaking bread, having a meal, gatherings, and I thrive on that. And suddenly, there was nothing in the lockdown. It was
mm,
devastating for everyone, unless you were a complete introvert and you just liked being at your home for the
mm,
rest of your life and not seeing anyone. But I felt like this book was really given to me. And
mm,
people say, oh my God, where did you find the prayers? And I said, the prayers were given to me um, by spirit as I would walk up and down my beautiful street in LA and not being able to see my friends and being so tired of doing Zooms and Zooms and not having that physical contact. I I wrote about loneliness. I wrote about fear. I wrote about uh, how to overcome loss. I wrote about the human condition and how the spirit comes to us, Gurav, every moment. Why does it come to us every moment? Because it's breathing us. We don't have to go to the Himalayas. We don't have to go to retreats. We don't have to
mm.
go to, we can be in the busiest street of New York and stop and say, all right now, who is breathing me? And come back, even right now, as people are listening to you and me, come back to your breath, put your hand in your heart and take a deep breath. And you go, my God, I am alive. I am alive.
I
Because if
just
you stop breathing, go ahead.
I just love it when you said that it is breathing me. It's not
Yeah.
that I am breathing my
No,
spirit. No, my
it's
spirit is
breathing.
breathing me. I
Yes,
just love it.
exactly. And Rumi says, let yourself be breathed.
Mm,
Let yourself be breathed.
mm,
So I want to ask right now that, you know, I want to read a little blessing from my book. It's called A Short Blessing for You. So,
mm,
what do I wish for human beings? I wish that the suffering that we go through
mm,
can be dispersed because the spirit can come in the middle of our suffering and caress us beyond the body. The
mm,
spirit can come in and whisper to us, but
mm,
we need to stop and cease the rumination of the mind, the worry, the anxiety,
mm,
the future anticipation. Oh my God, what's going to happen about this? And we human beings have so much worry, Gurav,
mm,
and so much anxiety and depressions that are going on within our planet of the suffering that people are going through. So for us who have found the truth and have found uh, the intelligence of the spirit, we have a responsibility to spread it. So may you know you're blessed. May you know you're loved. May you walk in peace. May you let yourself be led by the one who knows the way. May you sing your song. May you know your value beyond this world. May you utter the words of your unspoken truth. May
mm,
you dare say no to that which is not for you. May you dare say yes when you hear the calling. May you care for yourself like you care for others. May you grieve your losses and rejoice in your new discoveries. May you write your story. May you share your wisdom. May you know the art of letting go and the art of knowing what belongs to you and what
mm,
belongs to others. May you know your center and come to it every day and
mm,
build your home and build your
mm,
house there so that it never shakes or feels the quakes of life.
mm,
May you walk in peace and see the view from all perspectives and let the wind touch your spirit and carry it into the world. May you know your heart, its beauty, and its vastness. May you know yourself and God's immensity in you. And that to me sums it all, you
yeah.
know?
It's
And
like
that's
coming back home.
coming back home.
Mm,
Exactly. Thank you. Thank you for saying that. I actually have a poem that I wrote called Coming Home to Yourself. And I say, move in with you. That's the poem. Move in with you.
mm. Agapi, I'm so much loving this conversation. I've got so many questions. First question, which is coming to me: why do we suffer? Second one is, you spoke about knowing your truth. How do you define truth? And before that, before these two questions, I have another question. I was listening to one of your talks that you were delivering on a huge platform where you had around 1,000 women leaders sitting in front of you. And you said, life did not give me career. Life did not give me money. Life did not give me the man of my life, the man that I wanted. And yet I chose to live. Tell me about that. On one hand, you're talking about coming back home.
No, I didn't choose to live. And that I kept choosing me. I kept choosing me without the things that I thought would validate me and recognize me. So that's the key to life, is like when life wasn't not life, the world, because life was giving me what I
Mm,
wanted. Life was giving me life. But then I
mm,
put so many conditions to it. Like I can't be happy without the man of my dreams.
mm,
I can't be happy without being a successful actress. I can't be happy without making my projects happen. I can't be happy without being recognized for my talents. Well, the world was said, no, we are not going
mm,
to the man. We're not going to give you the career. We're not going to give you the recognition. Go find Agapi.
Mm,
And
mm,
so I embarked into, how Columbus went to discover America. I went to discover Agapi.
mm,
So I went and found Agape, and I said, Hallelujah, America, America, Agape, Agape. I found me. And what did I find? I found that in my heart, in the loving heart of Agape, lived an wonderful human being that I had a responsibility to honor, to respect, to love her, to get to know her, get to know her. That's what I speak at every conference I spoke. Get to know you, because
mm.
who you are, the tapestry of who you are, the combination of who you are is unique. There is no other Gaurav, there is no other Agapi, there is no other, whoever is listening to us, there is no one like you. So you have a responsibility to this human being and to this human divine being. And
Beautiful.
the reason we suffer is because we disconnect from feeling connected. We
Mm.
are always connected, but we need to stop the insanity in our heads of all the things I mean, listen, Gurav. If you say to me, Agapi, how can these refugees from Ukraine who are displaced, who've lost husbands, fathers, who are seeing their country be destroyed, be happy? I don't have an answer to that. I really don't,
Mm,
because I think that is suffering to me. But I know that in the midst of all that, the Spirit didn't leave them, and the Spirit never leaves us, because we will be dead. And when we're dead, the Spirit still doesn't leave us, because it lives in our souls. Now,
yeah.
how do you go from your suffering to your soul? How do you go from your, I mean, we have suffering that a girlfriend of mine calls it luxury problems. Luxury.
Mm,
Elevator in my building was not working today. As you know, I called you and I said, I'm running late because the elevator is not working. I'm waiting for the elevator so I can get to the office. Now,
mm.
this is a luxury problem, because I could very well do the podcast from my home, and it's an elevator, which means I have a home.
Mm,
I have food, I have a home, I have a family I love. I have a book that I'm promoting right now with a message of love and spirit. I have a wonderful host like you who said, Agapi, I want you on my podcast. These are incredible gifts of life. So
mm,
if I'm going to bitch about the elevator not working, and if that's going to upset my day, that is a luxury problem. If I go for a meal and when my food is late in a restaurant, that is a luxury problem. If a meeting is canceled, if a project doesn't happen, that is a luxury problem. You understand what I'm saying,
oh,
right?
absolutely, absolutely.
You
While I was
understand.
listening to, and you did responded to my question, why do we suffer? And where you spoke about separatedness, you also spoke about that how we all are interconnected, how we are connected with the source. You spoke about something so beautiful when you were talking about. It reminded me of, I was listening to Ramadas, and Ramadas said that there's so much of suffering all around us. There's so much happening all around us. Somebody's home must be on fire. Countries are fighting with each other. And you'll never get to know why it's happening because you can't see the larger space. You don't know the larger context of where you are living in. And when you don't know that, if you try and understand that, of course you're going to suffer. So instead,
Sure.
you could be in silence and you can witness. And you can witness what's happening and focus on things which are working on. And that's exactly what you spoke about. Agape, in your book, Speaking with Spirit, 52 Prayers to Guide, Inspire, and Uplift You. In chapter 25, you spoke about how you are bigger than your fear.
Yes.
Would
Yes.
love to understand any of your experiences where you experienced yourself bigger than fear.
Well, uh, uh, you know, fear is like living in the basement of your building. We are a mansion, okay? we are we human beings have a spiritual aspect to ourselves that is majestic, that is huge, that is free, that is filled with light. And how do I know that? Because I know that. How do I know I'm a woman? I know I'm a woman. How do you know you're a man? How do I know I have 5 fingers? Hello. In the same way, I know that. Now, do I live in that all the time? No. But when you're in fear, you take this incredible being, this expansion of consciousness, expanding consciousness. What I mean by that, how do you expand your consciousness? Right now, think of the billions of planets, the stars, the sun. We're sitting here in your office, in my office, but start to expand your consciousness. Not just the planet Earth, but all the other planets. Think of the moon, think of the Venus, think of Mars, think of the stars, think of worlds without end, think of inner worlds without end. And go there in your imagination. And you start to expand your consciousness. And now that you've expanded your consciousness, look at your fear. So, what am I afraid of? Well, I'm afraid of dying. I'm afraid that that will disappear. There will come a day that I won't live on this earth. There'll come a day you won't live on this earth and will be gone. That's something that I'm afraid of. But look at it. Just look at it. Like you look at your hand. Look at it and distance yourself from it. So when you take your fear and you become it, you put yourself on the basement. You put yourself in a short little straitjacket. For me, there were times when I was broke. I didn't have any money, and fear would grab me. I was paralyzed. And I would go, okay, how can I move through that? There were times where I didn't know what to do with my work. I didn't know how to, I was producing a one woman show, and I was so scared that things wouldn't work out. And I remember sitting in my kitchen, writing the script or rehearsing the script and thinking I'll forget my lines because it was a live show. And I remember a friend of mine who was my guide at the time and a very wise spiritual counselor said to me, "Why are you rehearsing things not going well?" And that's a habit we all have, that things won't go well. Why aren't you rehearsing that things worked out great, that the project succeeded? Now, in another chapter in my book is chapter 28, how when things didn't work out, I had to reframe them as success.
Yeah.
I want to encourage people and say, when things don't work, reframing failure to your advantage. And when things didn't work out, what I thought success was to me, I remember my project, PBS didn't pick it up in all the stations. It really was not as successful as we thought. Huge disappointment. I know, Gaurav, you must have disappointments. I
Oh,
know that
absolutely.
people who are listening to us, they have disappointments. So how do you move? And I have a whole other chapter to this book, move beyond your disappointment. You said the reason this podcast is called Ex Monk's Drive has to do with a spiritual warrior, correct?
Yeah. The warrior monk.
Yeah. In
Absolutely.
order
Yeah.
to become a spiritual warrior, you have to let go.
You have to let go, of course, because for as long as you are identifying yourself with anything or anyone, one is only going to suffer. Be it if I identify myself with my body, if I identify myself with my relationships, with my accomplishments, which what I do, my name. And I think that's one of the sources of sufferings that we all have to be a witness to. Agapi, the world that we are living in right now, there's so much of suffering all around. Since we are talking about fear and suffering, there's so much of loss that's happening. The wars are happening, the hopelessness, the uncertainty. We all are experiencing that, and that too, especially if you look in the last 3 years because of COVID. What's your take on that? Since you are talking about prayers in your book, How can a prayer help an individual regain some of the balance and trust on self, others, life, world, humanity?
Well, I think very simply, um, to me, prayer is the bridge between the two worlds,
Hmm,
the world of the spirit and the world of the human. I say, and every morning you wake up, and on the right hand, you have your humanity, you have your angst, you have your problems, you have your story, you have your worries, your how am I going to make this happen? You have the world suffering that you take on, you have the concerns about your family, your children, your work, your finances. It's all there on your right hand. On your left hand, you have your divine condition, which is unconditional. You have loving, you have presence, you have intelligence, you have 36 trillion cells that are making you. You have an intelligence consciousness that is making you, that is making the blood pump, the heartbeat, the brain function. That is a miracle of life. So you are walking, living a miracle of life. So you have that, but you have the other one. So what do? You pray. And the prayer is how you then partner with the divine, where you merge the humanness to the divine, where you then walk with God as your partner, and your day is transformed and your life is transformed, and you can do it 24/7. If you do it in the morning, do it again at lunchtime, and do it again in the afternoon. And how you do it is you
hmm,
close your eyes. I like to close my eyes because then I disconnect from the world. I take a deep breath. You can do that with me. You exhale and you say, I'm here. I'm here in my humanness. I
hmm,
am right now feeling uncertain, insecure. I'm feeling unworthy. I'm feeling not knowing how to do this next thing I have to do.
hmm,
I'm seeing the
hmm,
suffering. Someone in my life is suffering. Help me, assist me to now move into the presence.
hmm,
Help me see that that presence is the I am. And
hmm,
I now move myself to that I am balanced, and I am peaceful, and I am worthy, and I am enough, and I am the solution to my problems, and I am the peacemaker, and I am the giver, and I am the server, and I am love, and I am blessed. And help me see that and receive. And I am opening my heart to receive, and I am forgiving. I am forgiving. I am forgiving my inadequacies. I'm forgiving my less than feelings. I'm forgiving my jealousies, my comparisons, my hurts. And I open my heart to receive and be guided.
hmm,
And if I'm guided to speak, I speak. And if I'm guided to laugh, I laugh. And if I'm guided to reach out to someone, I just out of the blue, I just do that. My life is a gift. My life is a playground, and I use my life to be happy, to be expansive, to contribute, to love, to support. And I use my life to lift myself, to become more aware of the divine in me. Okay. And now I'm going to have an amazing day and tell my mind to be quiet and settle my emotions and live from that spiritual beingness that lives in me and be happy.
I'm so speechless.
That's how I pray. And that's why I wrote these prayers in this book, which I encourage everybody to get and to read, because this was the template. And I find the courage to move past my fear, knowing that the mighty spirit that lives in me is so much bigger than my fear.
mm,
Show me how to transform my fear into trust and my insecurity into confidence. Show me how to transform my scared voice into my sacred voice. Let me walk this path step by step, holding your invisible hand, hearing the inner guidance in me. And although I might not feel it fully or comprehend it, I am willing to let my higher power take the lead. So I encourage everybody to read this book and these prayers because they were given to me by
mm,
and they have the power of the spirit. Now, this is Agapi's words. This is Agape, but it's the template. It's a
mm.
template, and then you take it and you write your own prayers. I wanted to
Make it
encourage
your own.
write your own prayers. Make it
Yeah.
up. Make it up.
Mm,
We are too wrapped up in, oh, people say to me, I feel awkward praying. I mean, not listen, in Indian culture, you pray all the time, don't you?
mm, mm. Yeah.
You know,
As I'm just listening to you, and there are words that resonated with me at the core level, especially when you said accepting I am here in my humanness. In my mind, I was wondering, I am here in my humanness with all my imperfections and accepting myself, embracing myself, praying to the superpower, be it nature, universe, or God. You know, Agapi, I've come across so many people who pray for the sake of praying without embodying that.
yeah.
What's your advice to them?
You
How
can't
can
make prayer.
one?
No, you can't make prayer automatic. It's not. You can't go on automatic.
Hmm,
Like you can't just push a button and you do it over and over again in your head without. You've got to bring your presence. You've got to bring your heart. You've got
hmm,
to wake up your heart.
hmm,
It's when you're in love with somebody. You don't go on automatic. You are with this person and you feel alive and you feel happy, and they walk in and you are in love.
hmm.
It's the same thing with the inner lover. That's
Yeah.
your spirit. Now, how do you get that? You just keep on asking, you keep on affirming it, but you
Hmm,
keep on asking. And as I said, you said it so beautifully, you become silent. I mean, the words don't matter. It's the energy behind the words. Are you with me?
absolutely, yes. Absolutely, yes.
Energy behind the words.
Yeah.
When you say to some, I mean, when you say to somebody, I love you, and it's true, you can lift them up to the heavens.
Hmm. With you on that. And I believe we all have our own prayers. For me, it's shukrana. For me, it's gratitude.
That's
And
beautiful.
that's what I was talking to a friend of mine. I think when I would die, the only word that I would want to be written on my epitaph would be Shukrana. And below that, it would be written, "Kya yaar, maza aa gaya." I just loved living this life. So, Agapi, thank you so much. I'm halfway reading this book called Speaking with Spirit 52 Prayers to Guide, Inspire, and Uplift You. And I would strongly recommend everyone listening to this podcast, watching this podcast, please go and pick up this book, Speaking with Spirit 52 Prayers to Guide, Inspire, and Uplift You. And I promise you, you will find immense value in that uh, because we all have our own prayers, and
Yeah,
prayer is a way to communicate with the universe.
it's so
And
beautiful.
it's a way to connect
So
with your deepest self. As Agapi said, knowing
it's,
your truth. And if that's not the purpose of living, then what else is? Agapi, thank you so much for being such a wonderful guest. Much
well,
respect to you.
you have really blessed my life at the moment, and you blessed me with your gratitude and your incredible, I mean, nobility of space that you provide with your podcast. And I've heard many of your podcasts with other speakers and authors and thinkers. and you really bring an honoring to every human being that you speak with. I have felt that, and you bring such a incredible space of allowing the person to unfold and be without interrupting your agenda, without having this feeling that, oh, let's get on with the next question. You really allow your speakers and your thinkers to become who they are, and I really feel the depth of your gratitude and the depth of who you are. And as you said it so beautifully, prayer is the way to communicate with your deeper self. Actually, I'm going to quote you on that because I really love it. Prayer is that deeper communication to your deeper self, and to your truth. And I encourage everyone to write your prayers, speak your prayers. And if you get this book, send me an email. I'm going to give you people my email: Agapi, Agapi, at unbindingtheheart.com. And you can follow me on Instagram, Agapi Sees, and Facebook, of course. And also, you can look at my website, wakeuptothejoyofyou.com, and be blessed, be happy, and be giving and be of service to yourself, to the spirit in you, to the spirit in everyone. And that's why I love the phrase namaste, which means the spirit in me recognizes the spirit in you, right?
Absolutely.
Thank
Namaste
you
bows
so
down to the spirit in you. Much
much.
respect and thank you.
Thank you so much, Gaurav.